than ready.
Great to have you joining us for Team Talks. Great to have Glenn Murray and Karen Carney in the studio as well. What a cool little opener to look ahead to what is a huge game on Sunday.
Oh, massive game. I'm so excited for the game of the weekend. Two big title contenders, or so we think. Will it be the final nail in Manchester City? So excited for the game of the weekend. Two big title contenders, or so we think. Will it be the final nail in Manchester City's coffin?
Ooh, we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail. But what did you think of that little video game vibes?
Oh yeah, it took me back a few years, didn't it? I was ready for my little game playing out there, but yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting one. Liverpool have been unbelievable. I mean, he's making it easy, isn't he, Arne? He's just come in, just breeze. So, but Pep's under a little bit of pressure, but if there's anyone that can solve it, it's that guy.
And it is all about contrast. Liverpool will go 11 points clear of Man City if they beat them on Sunday. So with City winless in 6 games, will that make it much easier for Liverpool?
Yeah, if he talks about results in the Champions League, so if you are number 1 in the Champions League in the league table, then it's true that when it comes to results, we have been in the last 5 games the best performing team. But I said it yesterday night already, the best team in Europe is still Real Madrid, because they won the Champions League last season, and the one that's going to win it this season can say they are the one that's done. But at this moment of time, it's only 5 games in for us.
We did touch on it last night as well, obviously the injuries to Connor and Ibrahima. Is there any update as to where they're at with regards to those injuries?
Well, they're still being assessed, so it's difficult to see where they are. I know where they are, but where they are in terms of the injury. So let's wait and see. But it's never a good sign if players. Connor, I had to take him off, and Ibu didn't walk off the pitch as he should after such a fantastic game that he played. He should have made a round and clapped to the fans, but unfortunately he couldn't. So that's not a good sign.
Obviously, you're 8 points clear at the minute. Manchester City appear vulnerable given the run of form that they're on. You could go 11 points clear. At the same time, obviously, the gap could narrow to 5 points. So how significant, how defining a moment could this potentially be in the title race for you?
I think in general, if you play one of your competitors, it's always an important moment that has not so much to do with the amount of points they have or we have. These teams have always been in the last few years very close to each other, so those games are always very important. Just like the ones against Arsenal, just like the ones against Chelsea. But those ones are only important if you win against all the other teams. So that makes it that almost every game is very important to win. For them, but also for us.
Just to check, Arne, then, with Konate and Conor Bradley, are you ruling them out of this game, or do you think they've got a chance?
No, I just said they're still being assessed, and it's so close after the game yesterday night, and I just came off the training pitch, so I can't tell you exactly where they are. So yeah, we have to wait and see where they are this weekend and after that.
Would Trent be fit enough to start, do you think?
Yes, he would. Yeah.
In terms of City as well, obviously Vinny mentioned about the run of form that they're on. Do you think that makes your job easier or harder for this particular fixture?
No, I don't think anyone in the last 8 or 9 years, or maybe even longer, would have said that City at home or away. The word easy never comes up to my mind if I think about City. And oh, okay. Still, the easy inside easier. So no, not at all. And I know everybody's looking at their results, and I've seen them as well. But if you face them, and that's what we do, you analyze it, and then I've seen. So, for example, against Brighton, they were 1-0 up, could have scored 2 or 3-0, didn't, and then got beaten 2-1 against Tottenham. They could have been after 20 minutes 2 or 3 goals up. Weren't, and against Feyenoord that has not happened many times. They were 3-0 up, completely dominated the game, and then all of a sudden in the end it was 3-3. So they are still a very, very, very good team, and one of the reasons why I think Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world, or one of the best managers in the world, I think the best though, is that he always comes up with solutions for his problems. So and his problem now might be that Rodri is out, but we all know, at least I think, that he will come up with a problem that the run of form will go again. Hopefully after Sunday.
Thank you. Hi Arne. It looked last night like the players were pretty pumped by the atmosphere in the first half, and that came along with 3 yellow cards. And there was a moment actually where Curtis Jones signalled to his teammates to maybe keep their heads. Is that something that you are focusing on ahead of this game, and what could be a similarly quite intense and good atmosphere, that you need to sort of try and get your players to watch out for those yellow cards and things like that?
Oh, especially if you have a yellow, you have to watch out for the next one. But I think one of the 3 was Ryan Gravenberch, who made us only a simple tackle or not for a yellow, but then he did this. Now the referees are quite keen on that, giving a yellow for that. So and the first 2 fouls we made, he also gave a yellow. I think these games you have to be on top of your game in every aspect, so you have to play fair and good duels, and sometimes that can lead to a yellow card, but then if you have received one, you have to be smart, and that's what I saw with Ryan, that's what I saw with Darwin as well, because the one Darwin conceded was also in the set piece, and they were just struggling a bit, and the referee found it necessary to give yellow cards. So we have to be on top of our game. We have to be aggressive, but always in a good way. But maybe Curtis meant, I don't know. We have to ask him. Is not only without the ball, but also with the ball, be a bit more calm and use your head a bit more, because that's what we did the second half even better than the first half, which led to 2 goals.
No, today is the first day that we will see each other again after the game against Feyenoord. And yeah, back to business.
I mean, even for players like yours that have won huge amounts of games, so many trophies, all the biggest prizes, do they suffer from confidence issues when results don't go the way you want them to?
Yeah, of course. Football players and football is how, I don't know the translation from Spanish, is a mood, how you're, the confident. I don't know is the right word to express, but when the dynamics, I would say, they're good, it's always easier, but you have to accept that the situation that we have, that we are right now, and only we can do, I learned for all my life, is move forward, and in the good moments and the bad moments, is what you have to do, prepare well the game in Anfield and continue. So still we are in end of November, and Anfield will be the first day of December, so many months to play, many good things to play, and you have to learn, and you can fall down again, okay? The succeed is how many times you stand up. When you again you fall, so it's not the other way, I know, so what we have to do.
In recent years, you've had some problems in terms of your arrival at Liverpool for this big game. It's obviously a huge game. Have you got any concerns in that regard at all? Has the club taken any kind of measures to make sure the players, yourself, are all arrived safely without a problem?
To get to Anfield? No problem at all. It happened once especially, but it was a long time ago. Liverpool making a statement, Jurgen making a statement, so it's forgotten.
Ben? Pep, you know what it takes to win this league, obviously. You also know what the table looks like right now, so if you lose at the weekend, you'll be 11 points behind Liverpool. Would that be the end of your title hopes realistically? How do you view that gap?
And the situation that we have is not realistic to think about in a big targets. The situation is think about as soon as possible one game, and will give the good momentum to continue. So, and that will come back. But even in the good situations, what we have been in the past, in November, December, thinking and win the title was not much realistic. But of course, recover a big difference. A team like just lost one game that is in a really good form. They are so powerful in all departments, especially in the boxes. will be difficult. But in the situation that we are, and they lost a lot of games in a row, especially 3 in the Premier League, and so it's not. Always I think about the target when we arrive in March, April. Where we are right now, okay, we are 1 or 2 months ago. Now is the moment to try to do it. By November, December, it doesn't matter what happened on Sunday. It will be more difficult if we don't take results, that's for sure. But still, there are many, many games to play.
Are Liverpool the best team in the world right now, in your opinion?
I don't know. It's one of the best for the results. Prove it that. So many players together. Arne's making an incredible job. So, but I don't know. When years ago they said City is the best team in the world, I didn't pay attention 1 second.
So to go there and take on that challenge, how great is the challenge for you and your players where you are right now?
Of course, the challenge is about how strong we are as a team in the difficulties. That we are not. In the first knock, we are not as stable that always we have been. So I said many times. So in the past, when we were able to go 3-0 up, we didn't score the 4th, we didn't score the 5th, but the game was there in our hands. Control all departments, and then fell. And now in the first moments, we are. I don't know how we're going to react for obvious reasons that we have, for the desperate we want to win, for some absence of important players. That the best test to prove how stable we are is Anfield, because we cannot expect they will not have that moments and momentums, and that is how we have to be as a team.
Liverpool have won just one of their last 9 Premier League games against Manchester City. But right now, with City in crisis, no wins in 6. We saw what happened to them in midweek from a 3-0 lead. This is probably their best chance to add to that 1 win. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the word crisis. I never thought I'd be hearing that for City, but it does feel like that. And I'm not sure the players out injured at the moment are going to be fit and available. We'll have to wait and see. But like I said to you earlier, if there's any person that can tactically come up with something, it's Pep. But he's going to have to literally pull a rabbit out of a hat because of how they're playing at the moment and how good Liverpool are. So it's definitely going to challenge him. But like he said in his interview, it's a time to step up, step forward, not step back. And he has to get a song and dance out of the players. But also not be over-reliant on Haaland. You know, there's such a reliance on Haaland. People like Grealish and other players around have got to step up and start contributing in the final third. And I think that will obviously help them.
Yeah, another one of those players is Phil Foden, obviously player of the year last year, hasn't really hit those heights, but there's no one else really chipping in and helping Haaland with the goals. City look a little bit prone to counter-attacks and speed around them, but they haven't got that protection of Rodri in front of the back four, and it's almost set up for a Jurgen Klopp Liverpool team to play them, and this more pragmatic Liverpool under Arne Slot might just suit Manchester City. And if there's ever a game that you want to get out of a slump, this is the fixture.
I'd love to hear from Jurgen Klopp how he's feeling that City are going. This lead that they have at the top as well, it could be 11 over Manchester City. And I know last week after the Spurs game, Pep said if it does go to 11, then that's it. They have to give up on the title. But Arne Slot kind of, in that quote that we just played, in that press conference we just played, saying he's not taking anything for granted. This is still Man City.
No, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore that. And if Pep's telling everybody in the world, if we don't win this, we're out of it, of course he's going to expect them to come out and give everything that they have. They've held this title for the last four years. And I don't want to give it up. They want 5. But I think Liverpool at the moment, they're just calm, they're composed. You know, even with 3 of their best players coming to the end of a contract and can talk to foreign clubs in about 28 days, it's just like, no, we just crack on. We just
Christmas over the continent.
Yeah, we just carry on. And they're not even playing well. You know, last week they played Southampton. You're thinking, okay, international break. They're going to get a response, but they just seem to be getting it done, Glenn.
Do you know what? One thing I've been super impressed with Arne Slot is when a new manager walks into a football club, especially after an iconic manager in Klopp, it's really hard not to want to put your fingerprints all over this team. What he's done very little, just made them a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit slower build-up. But again, like Karen referred to there, 3 big players out of contract, and he's quieting that noise down, and it looks more like they're in than they're out. and to be able to get this momentum and harness this Liverpool crowd, it just shows how important it is. And this game being at Anfield is massive.
I think Mo Salah's been teasing us all season. He scored a match winner. This club is back where it's belong. Whatever happens, I will always enjoy scoring at Anfield. That was a couple of weeks ago. And then after the game against Southampton where he scored a double, he did this interview on someone's phone in the mix zone after and said, you know, I'm probably more out than in. There you go. I'm not going to retire soon. Just focusing on the season, saying that he hasn't been offered a contract. Speaking to NBC Sports there, I'm disappointed, but we will see. And what does Arne Slot do? I thought it was quite brilliant. So Salah says, I'm probably more out than in. And then Slot says, as far as my starting 11 goes, he's more in than out. Great way to diffuse the situation, I thought.
Brilliant.
Yeah, he just takes the pressure out of the situation, just makes it light-hearted. Obviously, all those talks will be ongoing behind the scenes, but I think it's important to give context to it that Salah has only stopped 3 times in the mix zone, apparently, over his 7 years. So that, for me, is him sending a message to the club. That's saying, come and sign me. So he's more in than out, what he says.
Well, we talked about the champions, Manchester City, and the run that they've been on, the problems that they potentially have. But leading the way at the moment are Liverpool. They are 8 points clear at this stage of the season. Anyone who's been this stage or better, and that's only happened once before by 1 point when Manchester United did it, has gone on to win the title. And yet, nobody, I don't think, is going to sit here and say, this is definitely going to happen. Because you look at the performance against Southampton, and you think,
yeah, but I think, but you saw certain things happening in the way that Liverpool giving the ball away, even Virgil van Dijk back-heeling that one when they went and got the penalty. They won't do that in those games. Maybe that was a wake-up call game for them to, like, listen, Southampton are bottom of the league, but if you do that, you're going to get punished, and that is why the league is so competitive. And there was at no stage in that game where I thought Southampton were going to win this game. I did not think that because of the way
they were 2-1 up.
Nope.
Yeah, but you know, Southampton this year, they go ahead, they concede, they lose.
The way they're playing, and you know that Liverpool, once it clicks in that, listen, man, let's get going. This is Southampton. I didn't think they were going to lose that, and plus, they've got their X factor in Mo Salah. It's just going to come up with it.
You say that. Liverpool have dropped points on the road against the last 4 teams who've come up through the playoffs. Liverpool's record against promoted teams away from home is not good at all over the last few years. So there was more jeopardy than maybe you would imagine when the team top of the table faces the team bottom of the table.
I still didn't think Liverpool were going to lose that game. I mean, obviously Southampton were playing out of the back and it was catastrophic. And I know Russell Martin quite well and he's a top guy, but at this moment in time, he even said himself, I need to take responsibility for this because every team wants to play out from the back. But if you don't have it in your armour and in your locker, then you can't do that. I'm not saying go route one and just boot it, but you're playing into their hands. I think with this Liverpool team, I think Gravenberch has been unbelievable. Szoboszlai, you know, those types of players. But Mo Salah, I mean, it doesn't matter what team you support. The quality that guy has is on a different level consistently every single season to reach the numbers that he does for this Liverpool team. And I still don't think people really give him the credit and respect that he fully deserves. I really don't. And like I said, it don't matter what team you support. We're talking elite. Always finds a way.
For you, Leanne, is it as much... Yes, it's what he can do, but there are a lot of players who are capable of doing what Mohamed Salah can do at times. But is it how and when he does that? Like the significance of the goals that he scores, the moments that he chooses to kind of show his best game.
I mean, the best players in the world and elite players step up when the team really needs them. And I think Mo Salah is one of those players you can always rely on in the big moments. His touch, the way he manipulates the ball, the way he moves his body, kind of can be quiet in games at times. And then when he gets the ball, he's efficient.
Yeah.
What's the latest on the contract chat, Aaron? as our man from the gentleman from the press.
I love the way Mo's come out with what he's saying. Put it out there. Let the fans see what's going on. Don't let the club hide in the shadows and try and do this. You know what I mean? He looks like somebody that...
So what he's said is there is no contract offered.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're not talking. It's just there isn't a kind of, you know...
Yeah, but what's interesting is more that he's actually come out and said it. He said it to one of our colleagues at NBC and basically said that... at the moment, to use his words, he's more out than in, which is a phrase I think you might see across the UK papers tomorrow and maybe even beyond. And it might even prick up a few years across the continent, even though I don't think there is anywhere better to go than Liverpool, the Premier League. I mean, this is the most competitive league in the world, which is, given what we've been talking about with the game against, first against worst. And I think at the same time, it's still been a compelling contest. So I think he wants to stay, but I think it's going to...
He wants to know what's going on.
Well, he wants 3 years. They want to give him 2. You can understand why. There's a long history of players in the Premier League who are coming to the end of their contracts. They're over 30. You give them big money, suddenly they drop off. And that money, that from Ozil and Aubameyang at Arsenal.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're talking about Mo Salah. Mo Salah don't miss games. He's not that kind of player.
I mean, look at him. The way he keeps himself in shape.
The way he is as a man, he's not somebody that is going to sign a contract and clock off. If there's anyone who's over 30 that I'm going to give a 3-year deal to, it's going to be Mo Salah.
I totally agree. I think the way he lives his life...
I think this is why, for him to come out and say it like that, he's putting it firmly in their court. Where, you going to back me or not?
I don't think they'll like that, though, will they, the club? The club won't be liking this.
But he is in... you've just been saying yourself about the quality, the numbers, the goals, the assists, all the reasons why he is in a really good place to be able to say that. Because if they don't want to give him that length of contract, there are other clubs who will.
You know something?
So here's I was going to say, here's the question, because it's the 3 big ones, Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, all at different stages of their career, probably will make different decisions at the end of the season when they're all out of contract. But particularly with Mo Salah, I'd used this phrase earlier, but if he's more out than in, is there a chance that this could be a legacy season for him, that he wants to go out on an absolute high, that he will... Look, he's not a player who ever gives less than 100% anyway, but I don't know, might you just get a little bit more juice out of that lemon?
Why can't it be...
Because it's his legacy. No, but...
Why can't it be a legacy season and they give him... and they offer him a 3-year deal?
No, but that might yet happen. But what I mean is for him, just from him, psychologically, is that something that can...
I think he's still doing what he's done every single season. I don't think he's doing, all of a sudden, way more than he did last year or the year before. I think this is what he's done in the Premier League.
I think he's going to easily go down top 5 players in Liverpool's history. He's got 20 goals behind Andy Cole to go 4th in the Premier League. I think that those things matter to him.
Yeah.
I think those things matter to him. Yeah, those things matter to him. So I feel, for me, if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be very worried that they have not offered him anything up to this point. He's not spoken to anyone. We're coming into December.
He didn't say he's not spoken to anyone. He said he doesn't have an...
He doesn't...
You've got the word.
Yeah. What is the word? Has he got a contract?
He doesn't have a contract.
Well, that's enough for me. He's not spoken to... What else are you going to speak about? If you've got a contract, that's what you're going to speak about. He hasn't got one offered to him. There are conversations that happen before a contract is on the table.
And you become aware.
You have conversations and you say, well, can we push this?
But look how Mo started the season. Look at Liverpool started the season.
And that contract should be on the table,
should be
signed already.
So as players, would you start looking at other clubs?
It's really tough because, if it was me and I was doing what Mo is doing at Liverpool, doing it at Arsenal, but you're coming to that end, there's people that are offering you, it's happening.
Already? But they're not allowed to.
But
they're not allowed to.
You're joking.
Righty.
I know. But the thing is, that those things are happening. And I think that it's probably... You know what? I'll just throw this out there. It's probably happening and Mo's saying, listen, you lot ain't offering me nothing and I'm hearing things.
Yeah.
There's rumours. Somebody's representatives have been talking to my representatives, which is not necessarily a direct conversation with anybody.
With anybody.
Not when I accuse anybody of that.
Get it done, Liverpool.
Other than our Peabody, touting himself for a Peabody in the corner, investigative journalist Darren Lewis, uncovering this gap. But look, it's in a great position. They're 8 points clear at this stage of the season.
Liverpool's to lose.
With a lot of at this point,
pressure on Liverpool.
Can I just put, for all the talk about Salah, and you're absolutely right to rave about him, but actually, it's that defence. It's the best in the Premier League so far. It's Van Dijk is back to being Van Dijk. The protection for that defence is been first class as well. The goals from midfield as well. Other players popping up.
Curtis Jones.
It's exactly. Curtis Jones has been outstanding. Kelleher deputising for Alisson has been outstanding as well.
Not enough said about that with Alisson.
Absolutely.
Not enough said.
I think there's a real balance throughout the side which gives Liverpool those options, and I think that's a big part of the reason
I
why
think
they're
Virgil
favourites.
will still be there, though. You know, we talk about the three players you said, Kel. Like, Trent, I think, is the one that everybody's thinking won't be there. I think Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk will be there next year. I just have a feeling. I don't want to see... No matter what team you support, you want to see the best players in the Premier League, and I don't want to see Mo Salah.
The other big story, as we've alluded to, was that victory for Tottenham against Manchester City. And I don't think... Tottenham have a way of playing that is targeted, actually, to exactly where Manchester City's weaknesses are. Where Manchester City have been most vulnerable this season is where Tottenham have been at their best. Even with that, you look at Tottenham's away record, you look at Manchester City's record at the Etihad, you look at the fact they'd lost their previous 4, so obviously that has to turn around. And nobody, I think, could have plucked that 4-0 scoreline out the air.
Not 4, but you know that Tottenham have recently been able to beat them and cause them problems, whether it's at White Hart Lane or the Etihad. People talking about... They cannot continue talking about Rodri, and they cannot continue talking about things that they don't speak like critiquing the recruitment at City. They've got it wrong. You know, you look at even Savino. You know, it's 15 games he hasn't scored. The form of Foden when you need a backup centre, you know, a backup to De Bruyne, you need a backup to Rodri, you need a backup to Erling Haaland, which they sold in Alvarez, a team that's aging. Now is the time where you look at them and say, well, recruitment's gone wrong somewhere along the line, massively, because whereas Tottenham had 4 or 5 players missing. Bentancur, Van der Ven, Richarlison, you know, Romero, and then they had 2 teenagers. They had teenagers on the bench. So Tottenham are going there after losing to Ipswich, and you're thinking, whoa, what can this be? But then they sucked them in so beautifully. And remember, they're playing with Dragerson and Davis, a left back, and
They were brilliant as well.
very good. But they did not, like Ange Postecoglou said, they didn't get afraid of what they had to do because they had to play through the press to get it to people like Maddison, for them to then get it to Kulusevski and Son and that. It was brilliant from Tottenham. And against the City side, that at the moment, there's, you know, they're starting to look their age. They're starting to look how we perceive them now. We're
9
seeing
of the
them.
14 players that they used were 29 or over. De Bruyne looks like he's feeling his age. I think Haaland...
But yes, but they're only a year older than they were this time last year.
Yeah, but
the other
in the
teams
case
are
of De
coming.
Bruyne, for example, De Bruyne's had so many injury problems that you can be 33 and be Mohamed Salah, who's in peak physical condition, or you can be 34 and be De Bruyne, who's just having little knocks and niggles and not having the kind of flow that he did have. I mean, you're right to say it's only a year on, but I less have a problem with the recruitment than I do with the fact that they bought in the summer really with a belief in the squad that they've already got. And I wonder if now that squad needs to be dismantled. And I think in the summer, or even in January, we'll see 1 or 2 players. I think Zubimendi maybe come in January, who would fill that role that he filled for Rodri in the European Championship final for Spain against England. And then I think we'll see other players come in the summer as well.
Maybe that's why he's signed.
But my concern for me, and I love Kyle Walker, but he doesn't look himself either. I mean, Timo Werner went past him. Kyle Walker very rarely gets beat 1v1. Going up against Timo Werner, I know Timo Werner was fresh coming into the game, but bringing back Gondwan, like those types of players, you know, and I feel like the certain players they let move on, they never really replaced them. Pep Guardiola, to me, doesn't look panicked, you know, and he's usually pre-match interviews, he's quite stern, isn't he? He doesn't really give much. After the game, he's coming up and he's fronting, and he's not really saying, he doesn't look panicked to me, but I think to like what Wright said, like Kevin De Bruyne, you know, he doesn't look himself. And you're right, Kel. You know, it's not even been that long since they were amazing. And they are an incredible side. But it's the first time. Pep's never had this in his whole career.
No.
5 games in a row. Now, I think, obviously, next weekend's game is going to be massive against Liverpool because that's when you'll start to see. You know, no one's ever heard of Manchester City losing games in this way because I think we all expected them to just find a way, didn't we? You know, they lose 3, OK. Every team loses.
Teams have found a way to play them now. And they're not as dynamic as they were. You know what I mean? Again, I still go back to, it cannot just all be on, with a team of that stature, with a manager of that stature, with what they've done. Once Rodri's got, they should have cover. They've got to, you've got to look at that and say, they've got that wrong, Kels.
Well, Kovacic is now
They're
injured
going to
as
struggle
well.
to get sympathy, aren't they?
Of course they are.
That's bang on.
Absolutely,
That's bang on.
absolutely. Because you look at them now and you think, yeah, 5 games on the spin, now we're starting to see some. You're saying that Pep's not panicking. And, you know, he's doing well to not show it, but 5 games, on the spin that he's lost. No, has that ever happened before with him? No. He's going to have to start at some
credit
stage
to Tottenham,
to try and find out.
Because there's certain
Absolutely.
players like Kulusevski, I think, has been their best player this year. And I think when these things happen, when we see this massive shock result, in the way that it happened in the magnitude, it's often you focus on what City wasn't doing.
Yeah.
But I think Tottenham were incredible. They're also a strange team, Tottenham, aren't they? They lose the games that they're supposed to win.
They lost against Ipswich.
Yeah, and then they win these games. But at the Etihad, their record's unbelievable.
But what you've got to understand with Postecoglou and what he's trying to do, he's trying to instill something in them, what they believe in and continue to do, even when it's going wrong. Like he's played, again, Davis and Dragerson at centre-back, knowing that how strong City can be down there, but they're still trying to play it through. You've got to get that done, and you've got to test yourself against the best. I heard James Maddison saying it, and Kulusevski. So as you can say, yes, we can do it against them, we can do it against everybody. I can see Tottenham getting maybe a more consistent run because he's going to start bringing players in. They're going to get more consistent with what they're doing, and they're going to do that to a lot more teams.
And they are fun to watch, Tottenham.
Yeah,
unless you're a Tottenham fan and you watch maybe the defeat by Ipswich and the other teams that they've lost to so far this season, where you think, what on earth's gone wrong? But when it goes right, they are.
It goes very right.
I'm happy for Maddison as well because he, you know, after his injury, he didn't have the best of times, getting subbed the other week at half-time. You know, it looked like Basuma and Sarr were going to be those two in there, and he had a brilliant game on his birthday, scoring two unbelievable goals.
The manager's really used him well in the way he's got him motivated to play in those games.
But you mentioned it as well, Leanne. That game now between Liverpool and Manchester City next weekend is huge, particularly with the gap at the top of the table being 8 points as things stand. And Pep Guardiola was asked what he thought defeat for City next week might mean. As you said, Leanne, he's quite relaxed, Pep Guardiola, but usually after a defeat he comes out and talks about how well his team played, how good they were, how he was proud of them.
I love these guys.
That's what he normally does, but this time around he is actually being critical of them, critical of their performance, and saying, look, we need to find something here. We need to do something. It's a change of tone for him.
Yeah,
a change of words, maybe, and not a change of tone.
I mean, what he's established himself is as a master of the right words to say in the right occasion, and it was quite interesting looking at that footage because obviously when you're in a press conference as a reporter and you ask a manager, you know, is it going to be beyond you? Generally, you expect them to say, no, we can still do it. Actually, yes,
he said no.
It's all over.
Yeah.
But I think his great strength is being able to articulate the picture as it is so that the players are left in no doubt about where they are. If they can't turn it around, they won't be there anymore.
Yeah.
And I do expect him to be quite brutal. I remember in 2022, people suggested he wouldn't sign a new deal and he couldn't rebuild a side like Sir Alex Ferguson used to. And he proved that he could do that.
Yeah.
And he proved that he could bring through young players from the academy that could be exceptional. They've come back from big points differentials. I remember it was 10 points in 2018-19 that they came
Not
back
at
from.
this stage.
Exactly.
So that's what's interesting about this. So Manchester United have been 9 points clear in the Premier League era. There've been two other. I think Liverpool and City actually are the two other times teams have been 8 points clear, and they've all gone on to win it. So now the question is, obviously Liverpool are in pole position, but does this mean that Liverpool are going to go on to win it? And maybe the question isn't, are City capable, particularly if they bring in reinforcements in January, of going on a long winning streak that can get them back in contention? But maybe the question is, do Arsenal and Liverpool have it in them to falter, to go on a run that, for example, City have been... I know it's 5 games in a row that they've lost, but it's 3 Premier League games in a row. So a City, a Liverpool and Arsenal capable of doing that at some stage to let City back in?
I think the season started brilliantly for Liverpool and they took full advantage of it. People talking about how easy it is to start. It's not easy to start. You have to make it easy. If you're supposed to be able to beat those teams, then you beat them. And Liverpool's done that apart from Forest. And they were under the radar until they started to really... Their heads started to go. Back to is that they were under the radar, so they got on with it. Arsenal now need to kind of go on a run like that. Liverpool are very much the favourites now. Liverpool know that they could probably draw that game, but the games that they're going to have to win, obviously, they're home games, and then they're going to have to make sure that they don't lose. And then it's Liverpool's to win, but then it's everything that comes in between those things. You know, Mo Salah and what's going on with Mo. Will that derail? What's going to happen with that?
Or is he playing a legacy season?
He could be playing a legacy season. It'd be brilliant for him, whatever happens. But the fact is, I'm pleased that Arsenal now are not in that limelight to have that pressure. It's Liverpool who know how to deal with it.
And I think that's interesting. They've gone from being a team who was supposed to be in transition this season to now a team who are in contention this season. And I just wonder about, as you said, there are a lot of players in there who have won the title with them before, so they know what this is. But there are also players in there who haven't done that as a collective. And I just wonder about that shift in mentality from kind of challengers to contenders.
But I was saying to you before, Kels, like, I feel like Jurgen Klopp must be watching this Premier League season thinking, what is going on? Because I feel like they're almost, Man City are gifting it to Arsenal, Liverpool. It's like, are Liverpool playing well? Yeah. Are Arsenal playing well? Okay. But I think Manchester City are nowhere near the levels they have been. Arne Slot's done an incredible job so far. But I do think, there's always that link around Arsenal with pressure. When it comes down to it, missing out when they said, when Arsenal went out the Europa League, they'll go on to win the league. It didn't work. There's a mentality problem there for me at that club. And I want them to do well. I spent 12 amazing years at that club. So I think, the way that Manchester City, I don't think anybody saw this coming, but they do have the quality. They still have the quality, but they need to find a way.
Yeah, but then what's happened is that people have seen that they're capable of getting their nose bled. It's like you can hurt City. I think what we saw with Tottenham, and I keep saying about the two central defenders, though I thought was going to be under amazing pressure, immense pressure, it didn't happen. They were still able to play out under City's press, which wasn't as intense as it should be. Other teams will see that. And what is so ruthless about the Premier League is that people are watching everything, and they will see that with City. And then all that happens is you keep them under pressure, you break a couple of times against them, you nick a goal. City are in that place again. Do not be surprised to see more of this happening to City.
I'm just surprised that without Rodri, they don't have the leadership, they don't have that protection for the back four, they don't have that player who's going to get the key goal to get them going again. He provided so much. The numbers, I think you've done the numbers already. They've only lost 2 out of 78 games when he's not played. And that tells you a lot about his impact. And I was thinking to myself, well, can it really be that one man has that transformative an effect? But then you take Virgil van Dijk out of Liverpool, as he was after the Merseyside derby. Exactly. Odegaard from Arsenal. There are so many examples of individual players who have a huge impact on their teams.
It's also injuries, and so yes, Rodri goes, but then they have injuries in defence. So then you haven't got the cover and you haven't got the regular. Similarly with the Van Dijk missing season at Liverpool, they then had injuries to central defenders. Then they had to put Jordan Henderson into, so then they lose him from midfield. It's the knock-on effect rather than the
absolutely. And I think for City, they've got no backup striker because they've sold Alvarez. They've got no backup central defensive midfielder because even Kovacic isn't available, as you were saying. So, stripped of all of those options, suddenly they look defenceless, and that's why so many teams now have confidence going to the Etihad. And whereas before, all the games had lost 4 different competitions all the way from home, this one is at home where they've been invincible for 2 years, and suddenly they do look beatable.
And it was a proper beating. Let's just put it out there for the Spurs fans.
I've asked people whether on the side of the house that they could put murals up. I have the honour of having mine here. There's Ian Rush, Robbie Fowler. Everybody's here. Mo's even got one. So yeah, it's a great honour. And as much as looking at the surroundings, but this is what Liverpool is all about. It's it's about the people, and this is where the people come from, and this is where their heroes should be celebrated in and amongst them.
I was going to say, is it something special about it being part of the community as well? Because that's really the heart of this club, isn't it?
Absolutely, but of course there's a huge Liverpool community. But of course, as I said, you've got many middle class and upper class areas with huge houses, which but Liverpool Football Club is about this. It's about working class people and celebrating them, being a part of them. And as much as I don't necessarily live around here, I am one of them.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you mentioned Mo Salah earlier on as one of the people with a mural in Liverpool, and he's had quite the week actually.
Well, we're almost in December. I haven't received any offer to stay yet in the club, so probably I'm more out than in. So,
would you like to stay there?
Well, I've been in the club for many years. No club like this, but in the end, it's not in my hands.
How do you feel about the fact there hasn't been an offer then? Does that disappoint you?
Of course, yeah.
What did you make of his comments? Should they give him a contract? Why is Mo Salah not signed on at Liverpool at this moment in time?
Everybody wants Mo to stay, obviously. But of course, we have a situation whereby We look at the three players. You got Trent, you got Virgil. You also look at Mo's age. They have offered Mo a contract. Mo will then have to decide whether he's willing to accept that contract. Obviously, from the point of view of looking at options elsewhere, Mo is going to be looking at that. But Liverpool was here well before Mo, and it'll be here long after Mo. I think Kenny Dalglish actually left, and I think that Ian Rush. It happens to us all. It happens to us all. And what you can't do is hold the club to ransom, which Mo isn't doing, and the club will do everything they can to keep them. So I urge the fans to trust the club, to know that they will make him the offer that they can. And if he doesn't sign, it's not because they don't want to keep him, it's because obviously this is modern football and things happen. You look at what we demand while you're here is you give 100%, which is what he's done.
Which is what he's done.
Firmino left, Mane left, Jordan Henderson left, but while they were here to the last minute, they gave 100%. And you can't criticise the club if Mo Salah decides to go, because the club can't do anything about that.
Is it quite a contentious decision though? Because it's interesting, and you're talking about 100%. I think you're absolutely spot on in that, people talk about players getting a little older, maybe seeing a decline, but Mo Salah's numbers are still really solid.
Well, it won't be in 2-3 years, will they? Because it happens to us all. So they're pretty solid now. But, in 2 years' time, when he's 35 and he's coming up to 36, so it really depends on... Everybody has to compromise. The club will have to compromise, Mo will have to compromise, and because we don't know the ins and outs of what's going on, it's irresponsible of us to have an opinion one way or the other. But what I can guarantee is the club will do 100% as much as it can to keep Mo, and if he then decides not to stay, it's not because the club hasn't done everything in its power to keep him. It's because he wants a new challenge. It could be money, it could be whatever reason. But as I said, he has been a fantastic servant for this club, and I know that he will continue to be a fantastic servant for this club, even if he goes at the end of the season, as all the players who've left in the last 2 or 3 years have done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Liv, look, we've made it indoors, man. I'm a bit warmer in here. We're in the Liverpool Football Club Museum, and as you can see, memorabilia from past, present, and of course John Barnes as well, who's with me. So how nice does that feel, looking at that?
Wonderful, and of course Arsenal fans get a nice warmth when they come in here.
That's
why you're feeling warm.
Not
like the cold marble halls of Highbury.
Well, we won't be warm. We won't be feeling warm if Arsenal don't win the league this season. But let's talk about what's going on in here, because this is quite impressive. I mean, people come far and wide for this.
Yeah, but it's
your
the history.
Pictures, it's the history.
Never mind me. Of course, you got Mo now, but of course you got Billy Little, Phil Neal, most decorated player. You got Steven Gerrard. It's about the history of Liverpool, and I'm glad that it's now here, because of course, as much as you may know about it, you can actually see it, and it started with this man here, the great man, Bill Shankly.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's a nice touch. It's a nice touch.
But also that Bill Shankly history and everything that's happened at the club sort of evolved to the man we're walking into a special room made for, Jurgen Klopp.
Yep.
Quite an interesting time at the club, 7 years, trophies for sure, but I feel like there's a legacy thing here about connecting club and fan, and
Absolutely.
I think that's a really important thing with Jurgen Klopp, isn't it?
It always was with Liverpool as well. Liverpool from Bill Shankly was a socialist club. It's about the people, the family of Liverpool, which is about not just the players and the staff, it's about the city itself. So of course Jurgen Klopp has brought that back, because of course after Bill Shankly, the most decorated and successful manager was Bob Paisley, more than Bill Shankly, but Bill Shankly started it, that's why I put him above him. Then all the way up to Kenny, and of course we went through a stage where we're still a good team. We're finishing the top 4 or 5, top 3, but never first or second when Man United and Arsenal took over, till this man came, and of course now he's brought us back to where we belong. Of course there's a new team, Man City, which are up there as well, but he really, for me, alongside Bill Shankly, are the 2 greatest managers Liverpool have had.
Now, what do you make of when Jurgen Klopp left? Because I say, like, having done all that work in 7 years, connected club and fan, brought in new types of players, surely everyone deserves a rest, man. It's time to go. Do you think he left at the right time, or do you think there was still more in him?
I always say it's up to the manager or the player when it's time to come. It's time to leave. Of course, he could do more by repeating the success, but obviously the type of manager he is, he's very infectious, he's very enthusiastic, he wears his heart on his sleeves. I don't know whether his health can put up with that for 20 years, because you see when we score a goal running up and down, look at someone like Carlo Ancelotti, even Arne Slot. Arne Slot is very calm, he can manage forever. You can't do that running around the way Jurgen does for a long period of time, but as I said, it is the right time for him to go, because that's the decision he made.
And you did mention Arne Slot there. It's quite impressive what he's been doing at Liverpool so far, but also not just that, I mean, quite stealthily in my opinion. He's been quite quiet about it.
Well, under the radar, because a lot of people didn't expect that, because of course we saw when Arsene Wenger left, we saw when Sir Alex Ferguson left, we saw a bit of a dip in the team, but this, and I have to pay tribute to the players, the character of the players, not the ability. They've got good ability, but no greater ability than the Man United, Arsenal, Man City players, but the character is strong, meaning that they will respect whoever the manager is, whereas we've seen players at the other clubs have a dip in form because the fans are not going to boo them, they're going to boo the new manager, as a lot of clubs go through. But the players have now taken on board everything he wants them to do, which is the biggest compliment I can pay them, the respect that he has paid, that they have paid Arne Slot.
And going back to Jurgen Klopp, that has to be also part of that legacy, to rebuild a team and leave it in a good place where it's able to compete. We talk about Man City, we talk about Arsenal, even Aston Villa now.
No, but how he's done that is that he's looked at the character of the players before he signs them.
Right.
And of course, if you look at the players that we've signed, as much as they may have turned out to be the players they are, I don't remember many people clamouring for those players, from the Soberslais to the Salahs and to the Manes and the Firminos. But he looks at the character, and it's always good for a player to mirror the character of the club. Humility, dedication, discipline, and this is what Liverpool had with Bill Shankly, this is what they have now. So they're not superstar players. As much as we see them as superstars, they're just like each other. And that's the biggest compliment I can pay Jurgen in terms of the players he's left, and also the players themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll be back pitch side at some point later on and catch up with you guys a little later on as well. Cheers, John, appreciate it.
Put it on a plate. On my plate, you know what you could put? Definitely
what?
Some pumpkin pie. Have you ever had that?
I've actually never had pumpkin pie.
It's delightful.
Is it?
I can't lie, the UK roast dinner is the best though.
It's elite.
Let's be serious.
But caveat, you have to get the Yorkshire pudding and the potatoes right.
Yeah, they're the most important.
If you don't get the potatoes right,
it's a no-no.
That's a fact. Anyway, let's take it pitch side at Anfield with Ayo. Ayo, it's the first time City have been like underdogs really in a game like this. What you guys feeling? What's the legend saying? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, this is it, really. And then we were actually just talking about this just before you came to us, in that, does this feel like the first time City are underdogs coming to Anfield, John?
Well, you know, Liverpool have always done well against City. Of course, City have been consistently winning the league, but I think that Liverpool have always done well against City. So this is a dangerous time because, of course, now, yes, I've never felt they were favourites coming here ever, even in their heyday. This is why this is very dangerous. But it just feels different. You know, because, of course, when City, they've never been in a slump like this, but even when they've lost the odd game, you always feel they can come back. And I'm hoping for that not to be the case, but it's not looking good for City, I have to say.
I'm interested in that because, you know, football is about narrative, right? And whichever narrative you put on it, there can be two narratives to anything, really. But considering the injuries, considering this is City trying their 5th consecutive Premier League, sometimes, I don't know, it's just a bit too much, isn't it, surely?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm hoping for anyway. But, you know, I've thought about this with Manchester City, and I remember when you've had teams in the past who've gone on years and years and done well, it's hard to keep that momentum, to keep that determination, that drive when you've got nothing to go for. I remember Arsenal nearly winning the league, and you thought, well, they've got something to go for. They've not won anything. City have been incredible for 4 or 5 years, but they've won anything. And I suppose we then just assume that that's going to continue. But that motivation to keep doing it week in, week out, even for Pep, must be hard. And it's a bit early to say that this could be the end. But I can't see City going on a run like they have done in the past, where they just win game after game after. So even if they win on Sunday against Liverpool, I don't think that City are back, because they haven't really shown me enough to then say that the weeks after that they're going to just win every game.
And if we are talking about narrative, then if City aren't back and they win this game, do you think if...
Don't get ahead of yourself.
I'm just telling you, I know which one I'm
What
going.
about your team, Arsenal?
Hey, look, I'm just leaving us out of this. This is probably the one week I don't want to talk about Arsenal. But real talk, if Liverpool do end up beating City this weekend, can we then comfortably say these are the title favourites?
I would say that they would be the title favourites. I won't necessarily think yet about what those favourites mean. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to win. But what I do know about Liverpool is that they're not going to capitulate. They're not to say they, even if they beat City, they may lose the next game.
Man, are you sure?
No, I'm sure they're not going to go on and lose 3, 4, 5 games like City have done. It's just a question as to whether City and Arsenal can put a run together to catch them. Because, of course, I can't see Liverpool then losing 3, 4, or 5 in a row. However, are City going to be able to, even if they beat Liverpool, to then say we're now going to go on a run? And I really can't see that happening.
And this is all music to JJ's ears, man, trust me. This guy's clasping his hands, licking his lips. But real talk, though, as well, for Pep Guardiola, is it strange that, you know, you've got probably one of the greatest coaches the Premier League has ever seen, signs a new contract, yet the team haven't managed to kick on? You know, for some teams, that sort of sense of confidence and consistency, you say, well, we've got him for another 2 years now, will sometimes just give a bit of a lift. It's been quite different this time around.
It has, and it's surprising, because I suppose I just felt that the City team were just going to continue to do that. But then, of course, going back throughout history, you look at teams, anything, no matter how well you've done, you have to have that determination, that drive to then say, forget that we've done it, we've got to keep doing it. And they have kept doing it. But how long is that going to continue? And this could be the time when it actually stops. Not to say they're all of a sudden not going to be in the top 2 or 3, but this could be a sign of seeing a normal football team.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I tell you what, we'll definitely be back here talking about this game a little later on. But actually, as we're talking about Liverpool, there's one player who's actually striving quite well under Arne Slot at this moment in time, is Ryan Gravenbach, and we caught up with him. Take a look at this.